Hello and welcome to another Blender Cookie tutorial. This is David Ward, and in this tutorial we're going to go in and make a stylized groundhog to celebrate Groundhog's Day. So he's going to be in the stylized cartoon character, the humanistic, the form that I like to use, the typical cartoon style. So all that being said, let's go and jump in with our default cube, and we're just going to tab into edit mode. It's kind of the typical box modeling technique that you've seen me use before. For example, on the reindeer that we did for Christmas. It's going to be the same basic technique, but we're going to use we're going to turn him into a groundhog instead of a deer. So anyways, so as you can see, I subdivided my default cube and then deleted half of it, and then we went in and added a mirror. So we're going to turn on clipping there, and we'll go ahead and just start modeling out the generic form. And we'll go ahead and turn on the proportional editing. There we go. Just kind of get a generic head shape. Now he's going to be a groundhog, so he's going to be fat. I'm going to make him fat because he's a hog. He's a little fat critter, kind of like groundhogs look a little similar to like a mixture between a beaver and a chipmunk. So that'll give you an idea of kind of the look we're going for. So just kind of rounding the back of the head off here. Now, in the previous stylized tutorials, I've had some comments on how I get this particular style. Well, I don't know, it's not really a method or anything. It's just kind of what looks good as I'm doing it, kind of a natural process rather than a technique, I guess. But anyways, you just follow along. Maybe you can kind of pick up the same style. So anyways, we're getting our mouth and nose area situated right here. Let's go ahead and grab our face select. Go ahead and select these 4 faces there, and we're going to extrude once. And let's go ahead and turn off the proportional editing for now. Scale this way down. This is going to be his mouth, so we're going to scale that way down, and maybe let's grab these vertices here, drag those over so it's more of an even space between all of these. Scale it down some more. Okay, put it about right there. Now we're going to Control R, add a few loops in here, about like so. There we go. And let's go ahead and turn our proportional editing back on, and go ahead and start shaping out the way we want him to look. So we're going to have fat, puffy cheeks poking out here like so. And then the chin itself will jut out a little bit, but I want there to be some separation between the cheek and the chin. So we'll grab these vertices here, kind of drag those back a little bit so the chin sticks out a little more. And you know what? Let's go ahead and put another loop right there, just so we can add some more definition to that chin. There we go, about like so. Okay, let's grab these guys, bring these out as well a little bit. Okay. Okay, now let's get that nose built in there real quick, the muzzle, as it were. Let's grab these guys, actually all of these guys here. Maybe not these. We'll grab those, make them a little wider. Actually, let's grab this, kind of round it off some. And then you know what, let's grab all those faces again and drag them forward a little bit. And then we're going to extrude them forward. There we go, scale it down some. And then let's go ahead and back in here around the original ones and make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Now, one thing that's a little bit different than the deer that we made is this is kind of a rodent character. So, well, I guess it doesn't have to be a rodent, but it's going to kind of have that cleft top lip. So we need to bring these guys down here, kind of get that portion there closer together. Bring those back there at the top of the mouth. You know what, let's grab the mouth vertices that we were playing with earlier, or faces. And let's go ahead and extrude that in so we can actually kind of model around it instead of just kind of guessing where it's at. We can actually have it in there. We'll just leave it like that for now. Come back out of wireframe view. Okay, let's grab these guys here again. Go to our side view, extrude out one more time, maybe scale it down a little bit, and bring it up. Turn on our proportional editing, kind of give it a nice curved up look. And let's grab this one right here and move it out so we have a nice rounded tip there, and grab this vertex. And a lot of this is kind of just playing around with the different styles. Like I said, there's no set method to get this particular style. You just kind of play with it until it looks about how you want it, and just go from there. Okay, so that's looking pretty decent. Let's drag this. I'd like to make it a little smaller. Let's bring it back in there some. Drag it in. And you know what? Let's go ahead and turn this to smooth shading, and go ahead and give it a subdivision surface modifier, and then give it one more subdivision there in the view. Kind of see what we're doing a little bit better. And tell you what, let's turn off that ground plane. If you go to display, hit N to bring up your properties, go to display, and go ahead and turn off grid floor, and we'll go ahead and uncheck the X and Y axis as well. Okay, so we kind of see what we're doing now a little better, smoothed out. Let's tab back into edit mode, and tell you what, let's go over here to our mirror modifier, and let's turn on this apply modifier to editing cage during edit mode. Go ahead and click that. You can see that applies to both sides. And then let's go down here and do the same thing on our subsurf so we can actually see the smoothed version as we're in edit mode. Let's go ahead and just start playing in here and kind of getting this to look the way we want it to. Let's go to the corners of the mouth, bring that back in. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this loop right here. Just hold down Alt and right click on the edge there, and it'll select that whole loop. We'll extrude that out so we have a lip here, a couple of lips to work with. Let's go back and do vertex select. And tell you what, let's grab this whole top lip, because he doesn't really need a top lip since he's got this snout sticking out there. And let's hit W smooth. And we'll do that over here with our iterations here. We can tab that up until it gets nice and smoothed out. Then we can see we have our lip there. Let's jump into sculpt mode and get our grab tool there, and just start grabbing. Let's make it a little bigger there. Grab the corner of the mouth there and drag it in so we can kind of get that nice curved around part for our bottom lip there. Maybe bring it up so it's not curved down so much. Tab in edit mode might be easier. Grab that. And let's subdivide it. Let's add a loop right there. Control R. Bring that bottom lip out and make it a little fatter. Okay, now let's grab all these vertices right here on the corner of the mouth and W smooth, just like we did on the top part. Just kind of get that smoothed out a little bit. Yeah, it's looking a little better. Let's bring this part here up, and let's bring this out so we round off a little bit better. And that's looking okay. Let's sharpen it up by bringing these guys up a little bit. And this one as well. Get these guys in some. Puff these cheeks. Okay, so that's looking alright. Let's get that cleft put back on his lip where it came out when we were smoothing earlier. Let's bring that down there. Let's select this middle section here and just bring that up. Make sure you don't go, since we have our proportional editing turned on, if you drag it too far to the side, the proportioning will grab these edges here and merge them together, because if you turn off the subsurf there, you can see this part especially is very close together. So tell you what, let's just leave that off for now and select all these guys and drag them up on the Z axis. Looks like I'm missing one. Yeah, there we go. Gotta be careful when you're working this close to the center. Okay. So that's starting to look all right, I guess. Let's go ahead and give him a nose. We got a snout going. Let's go ahead and put a nose on there. Let's grab these faces here and this one, I guess. And I guess that one. Yeah, that'll probably work. Let's go to our side view and extrude out a little bit. Maybe scale it up some, increasing our proportional fall off as we go. There we go. Okay, and let's put one more loop right around here so we get a nice division between the nose and the snout, so they show that they're two separate pieces. Okay. Oh, there we go. Looking pretty decent. Let's grab, we're in sculpt mode still yet. Let's grab the corner of his nose and kind of bring it down, and maybe go in here and kind of bring this in a little bit so we got more nostril shape in here. Maybe kind of round the edges out there. Grab the top of it. Let's tab in edit mode. Let's go to side view, grab these vertices here, and let's just make that nose quite a bit thicker. About like so. Maybe bring this guy up. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Like I said, a lot of this style just kind of comes from, I want to do that. That looks better if I do it this way. That looks better if I do that way. So on and so forth. Like right now, like the nose could be good as is, but you know, we could add a little bit more style to it if we wanted to. So just grab this middle part here, drag that down. Maybe this guy, oops, drag that up. So we got that cleft coming together right there under the nose. There we go. Let's make that cleft a little more pronounced. Okay. I think that'll do it. Now, let's make these cheeks kind of sag down a little bit, kind of give him that. He's not just fat, but he's like sloppy fat. He's eating a lot of hoggy stuff. I don't know. He's a groundhog. He eats whatever he wants. Let's get the side of the face in here. That'll help out too. Bring that in. Kind of give those cheeks kind of a jowl look. Okay, so that's turning out pretty good. Let me go ahead and save this. And my G drive Blender files. Let me create a new directory. Yes, and we'll call this Groundhog. Okay, and it sorts it alphabetically. There we go. And let's call this Groundhog _01. And we'll save. Alright. So our Groundhog head is looking pretty good here. Let me grab my smooth tool there in my sculpt tools. Just kind of click and pick and click here and there, kind of smoothing some of these areas up a little bit better. Okay, now got his cheeks all smoothed out. Let me go back into edit mode, kind of puff them back out a little bit. Okay, now let's give him some eyes. Let's put an eye socket in here. Let's grab these four guys here. If I can grab the right ones. Not that one. There we go. And tell you what, W smooth, kind of round them off a little bit better before we start playing with them. Then we'll go and extrude in. And let's turn off proportional editing for now. Disable that. You can also hit Alt-O. Turns it on and off. So we'll scale that down. And I think what we need to do is bring the top of the head in down a little bit. So let's grab that. And you know what? Alto, turn that proportional back on. Drag it down so the eye socket area is rounded off a little bit more. And let's grab this whole loop here that we created there, and that guy, move it up some. Okay, let's bring this down. Okay, now let's grab these faces here, side view, and let's go ahead and bring them a little further inside the head area. Give him some beady eyes. Maybe rotate it down a little bit. Let's put a couple of loops in here just so we can smooth it a little better. Grab all those loops there, W smooth. Let's do that a few times over here. And let's grab that whole loop right there, what do you say? And that one, and there we go. W smooth those as well. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and save. Save often. As my 9th grade computer teacher, Mr. Crawford, always told me, save often. Never know when your computer's going to crash. So, of course, that was back in the days of Windows 3.1. Kind of dating myself there, aren't I? I'm not that old. Anyways. Okay, tell you what, let's go ahead and grab these original eye socket faces and just go ahead and delete those. There we go. And let's grab this vertex right there, kind of round the socket out some. And for now, I'm going to put a sphere in here to act as the eyeball. And we'll go ahead and make it look like an eyeball for the most part, but later on we'll have to separate it from the head if we're going to rig it and everything else. So let's put our 3D cursor right there. Select that loop. Remember Alt and then right click on the edge. And we're going to go Shift S. We're going to go cursor to selected. Put our cursor right there in the center of those selections, those selected vertices. Shift A. We're going to add a UV sphere. And we don't need 32 segments, so let's just put 12. 12 rings as well. Okay, and we'll scale it down to about, that's probably good, about right there. And let's rotate it 90 degrees. And let's put a loop right here close to the, I guess the 4th loop. There's one, you know, the point, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 loops. Oh, okay. Let me undo a couple of times. Now, the reason that stuck together is because clipping's turned off. And when I first created the sphere, it overlapped in the middle. So then when I scaled it down, it kind of glued together there on the center because clipping was turned on. So we turn off clipping, we can scale it down with no problems. And once we get it past the median mark there where it won't glue itself to itself, turn clipping back on. Okay, so now we'll rotate 90 degrees on the x-axis. And okay, and again 1, 2, 3 on the 3rd loop. Let's put a new loop right there, about right there, and then add one more loop in the middle. Okay, and then we'll actually undo Alto, turn off proportional editing, and just drag that guy in there. Make it a little, oops, just drag it in, and we can see that we have a quasi eyeball looking shape that we can just kind of use as a placeholder. And let's go back to object mode here and turn on smooth shading. There we go. Okay, now we can grab the eye socket around here and start forming it around our eyeball. Like so. Just grab these points and just drag them up until they meet where they should. And let's grab that whole loop and bring it forward some. Turn on proportional fall off again. Make sure you use connected. If you just turn on enable, it's going to grab everything that's nearby those vertices on this model. But you turn on connected, it only grabs the vertices that are part of the same piece of mesh inside this model. So we want to make sure it's on connected. So now we can move the eye socket around the eyeball without affecting the eyeball itself. Okay, so what we're going to do is basically just get the eyeball in here, or the eye socket in here. A nice rounded piece to go around the eyeball. We're not going to worry about eyelids. So I'm going to grab this loop and extrude back a little bit. Scale it down a little bit. There we go. So the eyeball's kind of just sitting in there. sure you're grabbing the right piece. There we go. And let's bring this side right here up. Okay, smooth this up just a little bit. Okay, we'll call that good. Now, I want to give him some eyelids. I just don't want them to be part of this same piece of the mesh. So I'm going to grab the eyeball that we put in here, and I'm going to go Control L, select the whole thing. Let's go to our side view, and we're going to Shift D to duplicate it. And I'm going to scale it up just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to grab this loop that we made. I'm going to go Control X, or not Control X, just X, and then say Edge Loop, and then grab this loop right here, X, Edge Loop. There we go. So now we have an unedited sphere enclosing or wrapped around our eyeball. So if we go Control L, you can see that it's all selected. There we go. Maybe scale it up just a little bit bigger. Okay, now let's rotate this on the 90 degrees on the x-axis. There we go. And this is going to become our top and our bottom eyelid. So what I want to do is deselect these top. If I can, hit the right button there. Okay, select everything. Again, I need to repaint the L button on my keyboard. It's not letting me deselect. Let's try it from here. Well, let's hit B. Hold on, hit B, hold on Alt. Well, something's going on. Let me pause the recorder. I think my keyboard's locked up or something. Stand by. Okay. Alt. I was trying to select something and then hold down Alt. Select and then hold down Alt to deselect it, but it wasn't working. And I realized that because my user preferences, you have to turn on, you have to emulate the 3-button mouse for that to work. And also, let me turn back on my screen recorder or my screencast keys. Stand by. Okay, everything should be back to production. Crazy, some of those things that'll mess you up and then totally kill your production. So anyways, back as we were, the eyelid. Select that whole loop, hold down B, or hit B, hold down Alt, and just click and drag and deselect all these guys. This guy as well. And just go ahead and delete that. Not the vertices, the faces. There we go. And then select this loop here. Hit E to extrude that, and extrude it, and then just right click out, and let's go ahead and turn off proportional editing. And while it's still selected, scale it down some, about like so. See it in there? And let's add one more loop closer to the edge. There we go. Okay, you see now it's like a bottom eyelid. Okay, tab back in edit mode. And let's Control L, select that whole eyelid there. We're going to Shift D, duplicate it, and let's rotate it 180 degrees. And then drag it up to where it's sitting right on top of the bottom one there. And let's rotate it at our let's put our 3D cursor right there in the middle of these two guys. Select both of them, Shift S, cursor to selected. Puts our 3D cursor right there in the center, good. And then let's select this top one and hit the period button so we rotate around that 3D cursor, and hit R to rotate, and then let's just rotate it 30 degrees on the x-axis. I guess negative 30 degrees on the x-axis. There we go. You can see it kind of puts the eyelid there on top, or it kind of rotates it back to where his eyes are more open. And then we'll select this bottom lid and rotate that 30 degrees on the x-axis. And there we go. So I guess he's got kind of a dull, half-awake look on his eyes. And let's make those two eyelids a little bigger so they encompass the eye a little better. Oh, there we go. That's looked better. Okay. Now, let's focus on the mouth area again. Let's turn on our editing, proportional editing. Let's get that mouth kind of rounded up a little bit. maybe let's drag the edges of it back a little. Okay. And let's go inside the mouth. Let's turn off our mirror modifier for now. Set the little eyeball there. Go in here so we can see what we're doing a little easier. Let's just make the inside of the mouth there a little more cavern-esque, if you will, as it were. Not sure how far we'll go with the inside of the mouth later on, but we'll go ahead and put them in here just in case we want to do something with his mouth open later on. My keyboard's off-centered. It keeps bouncing around. Okay, I think that's probably good for the most part of the inside of the mouth. Let's select these guys back here, and we're going to extrude those forward. And this is going to be his little tongue. Let's control comma to go back to rotating and scaling around the selection rather than the 3D cursor way up there. So we'll keep extruding out. Now you'll notice it's putting a face right here in the middle. Whereas if we had the mirror modifier turned on, it wouldn't do that because the clipping keeps everything glued together for the most part. But since it's turned off, we'll have to go back in and delete that after we finish up with what we're doing here. So let's grab this loop, move it up some, get our tongue, have a nice curve to it. And let's go ahead and grab these faces here, and we'll turn our mirror back on. There we go. Let's go to our front view. And let's rotate those around and then drag them towards each other so they are perfectly glued together. Okay, and we still have those faces there, so we need to go ahead and hit delete faces, and it'll delete the inside faces in there. Okay, so now he's got a tongue and inside of the mouth. Let's grab the inside of the mouth right there and move it forward some. There we go. Get my fall off to round this out some a little better. Okay, now, like all other rodents, they have distinctive front teeth. So, let's go ahead and add that. Let's put our cursor over here, tab back into edit mode, Shift-A. We're going to add a cube. Okay. And let's go ahead and subdivide it. W, subdivide. Let's do it 3 times there. And I want to go ahead and grab my face select mode, and let's grab all these faces on the side here. There we go. And just go ahead and delete those because we're going to glue it together, and like the tongue, we don't need anything in the middle. So let's grab a piece of it, Control L. Move it up here so it's a little out away from the head, and scale it down. Okay, and then SY to scale it on the Y axis. Make it a little thinner. And then let's go to our front view, scale it on the X-axis to make it a little thinner there too. And then we'll kind of just grab part of it here and just kind of start shaping it to look like the sharp teeth that a rodent would have. Let's grab these guys right here. Drag those down some. Actually, all these. There we go. Okay, now this is just going to be the left tooth, obviously, because like I said, with the mirror, we're going to bring them together. So we will need to make a nice distinctive separation between the two. So let's grab this loop here, scale it up some, and then drag it down so it's even at the top for the most part. And then we'll drag it over to the side, almost to the middle. Actually, let's put it about right there, SX0. So we're scaling on the X-axis 0%, which flattens it out. And let's do the same thing with this loop here, SX0. There we go. And let's leave it as is, and then grab this loop and bring it a little closer in. And I think since we had the proportional editing turned on, when I scaled this guy 0%, it's kind of grabbed a piece of that other. Okay, so now turn it back on. Round this back out. Okay, so let's grab this whole shebang here. and drag it towards the middle until it meets. Alright, until it merges together. There we go. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, that's looking pretty decent. But I would like to see a little bit more definition between the two. So let's turn the fall off again. Scale that way down. Or front view. And let's bring those two halves together a little closer. Okay, and let's round the tooth out on the front side as well. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Kind of like to rotate it back a little bit so it kind of curves around with the mouth as well. There we go. And let's go ahead and turn on smooth shading. Alright, now, about ready to put the teeth in the mouth. So let's grab these teeth. Oops. Just the teeth. There we go. Drag them up to be in position. Scale it down. And we'll have to bring it back together once we get it scaled about the right size. So about right there. And then let's drag it up and bring it in. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's grab the parts of the head. Let's bring that back just a little bit more. And then let's start working on getting the mouth to wrap and shroud the teeth. Let's turn on proportional editing back on. So let's bring that top part of the mouth, the top lip, forward until it comes in front of those teeth. Looks like we might need to smooth some of this area here. Let's grab all these guys. I selected one of those guys back there. Don't need that. Okay. There we go. And let's go and W smooth. There we go. Get that smoothed up. Front view. Get that cleft back in place. Okay, so the top looks pretty good. Let's get the bottom part of the mouth situated around the teeth. So let's bring that lip up. And let's grab the corner of the mouth way in here and drag that to the edge of the teeth. Okay, now it looks like our bottom lip needs to come in a little bit. There we go. Okay. Nice buck-toothed little rodent guy. Let's bring his chin out a little bit more. Maybe have his lip so it doesn't go quite so far back. There we go. Okay. Let's clean this up a little bit in here. And we're just about done with the head. Seems like the head always takes a lot longer to do than the rest of the body. I guess it's because you're putting a lot of work into the face for the expressions and everything. Okay, so let's grab the sculpt mode and let's smooth some of this up a little bit in here. The grab tool as well, maybe. One thing you can do when you're trying to grab different points and you can see it's not really wanting to grab where you're clicking. I'm trying to click right there and drag, but nothing's wanting to happen too well. You can go to your object settings here, come down and turn on wire. And then we need to go back to our modifiers and under subsurf turn on optimal display. And you can see where your vertices are and you can grab them accordingly and it will actually do what you're wanting it to a little easier. So it's just a little cleanup. Just apologize for that long bit of silence. Sometimes I forget I'm doing a tutorial and just having fun with it. So okay, so we got the general face area pretty well set. Let's give him a little bit of an eyebrow. Let's grab these guys there, extrude that out, scale it down, rotate it around just a little bit. Okay. And we still got our sculpting tool selected, so let's make this look a little bit better here. Maybe puff that out right there. Just kind of give him a very defined eyebrow, and that helps him have that bored look. It's like meh. Meh, there's sun shining. I don't care. You know, Groundhog comes out and sees a shadow. Ooh, look, a scary shadow. Ah! Then he runs and hides. Because he's a little scaredy cat. Scaredy Groundhog. Okay. So we got the face pretty well set. Let's go ahead and turn off that wire visualization again. Let's go ahead and save. Okay, now let's give him some ears. And we're going to do that. We're going to grab these faces right here. Okay, go ahead and extrude those out just a little bit there. Maybe scale it down some. Extrude out again. Scale it up some. It's got to kind of rounded ears. And let's scale it on the y-axis to get them a little thinner there. Okay, extrude out one more time, and then scale it down. And maybe let's grab our vertex select and grab that loop that we just did. Maybe drag it a little closer to the head. Grab that first one. Drag it a lot closer to the head. Maybe make the ears a little smaller all around. So there we go. Let's rotate them around. Let's grab all those loops. Not that one. All those loops that we just made. And let's kind of rotate it around a little bit. Increase our fall off some. And let's grab that point right there. Bring it in. Okay, so there we go. It's looking good. Let's grab these faces right here. And we're going to extrude a little bit. Scale it down. Actually, turn off our fall off again. Scale it down. Okay, and then we're going to extrude back up in there. It's going to be inside the ear. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go to our sculpt mode again. We're still in there. Grab our smooth, and let's smooth up the bottom edge and the part where it connects to the head here of our ear. On the back as well. Get that cleaned up some. Okay. And then let's grab the grab tool, and let's thicken the very top part of the ear up. Give it a kind of a question mark shape, somewhat. And let's turn on our wire view again. There we go. There we go. It's always easier to see, easier to click and grab when you can see where your grabbing points are. Okay, I think those ears look pretty good. Let's give him a little bit of a point to the top of his head there. There we go. Maybe bring it forward some. And let's smooth up back here a little bit better. Okay. Let's turn off our wire. Kind of see what he's looking like. Good. I wouldn't mind smoothing this point right here down a little bit there between his eyebrows. There we go. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and save this. And one thing, and then we'll call part 1 done. I'd like to get his neck started. So let's grab these guys right here. And let's go and scale them up a little. And then we're going to extrude. And then kind of rotate around. Turn on our fall off again. There we go. Scale it up. And I would like, since he's going to be real big and fat, I want his neck to actually start way at the back of the head and then be down here like just below his chin. So he's going to have a really big, thick neck. So let's go into side view. Let's extrude. Let's grab all those and extrude them again one more time and then scale it up a little bit more. And you can kind of see what it's going to start looking like here. Grab that, bring it forward some. It's always fun to do stylized animals. So you can like play off of some of their characteristics. Like I said, he's a groundhog, so I'm kind of gave his nose a little bit of a like a pig shape, a hog shape, and then I'm gonna make him real fat because he's a groundhog. Hog's a lot of ground, I guess. I don't know, but anyways, let's grab all these faces again. Grab this guy. Okay. Almost done with part 1. Don't want to go too much further. Extrude one more time just so we can get a little bit more look at his neck and shoulders, or neck and shoulder area. And maybe start bringing it out some. And let's put one loop right there. Maybe scale it down just a little bit, just so there's a little bit of separation between his head and neck. There we go. Okay, well, I'm thinking that's turning out pretty good so far. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And I guess we'll call this all for part 1. And in part 2, we'll go ahead and work on the body and see where we get from there. Maybe we'll go ahead and start texturing too. We'll have to see where we get. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you're having as much fun with this as I am, because I really like doing these stylized animals. So anyways, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in part 2.